The movie opens up in the year 2142 in space amidst all the wreckage of the USCSS Nostromo. A sample is taken from the ship's wreckage by a team of researchers. Subsequently, a group of scientists who were sent to retrieve the Xenomorph's remains to conduct more intense research. The movie then shifted to an orphaned, Rain Carradine, who works on the Jackson Star mining colony with her synthetic human, a malfunctioning android named Andy, whom she preferred to refer to as her brother. Rain and Andy goes to the Colony of Foreign Affairs to terminate her contract and request for travel papers, but unfortunately for her, she is informed that she is not eligible for travel yet, and that she has been transferred to the mine and her contract has been extended by another 5 to 6 years. Rain is disappointed that they didn't let her go even after completing her hours. She goes outside to see some bullies beating up Andy. She immediately ran to save him as she inserts a chip in him to restart his program and stop him from malfunctioning. She took a moment for herself to reflect on the bad news she had just received earlier. However, Rain receives a video message from her ex-boyfriend Tyler. She is told that something special has come up and she should come along with her robotic named Andy. Rain and Andy arrive at Tyler's base, where she meets up with his cousin Bjorn and his girlfriend, the crew's pilot Navarro. Inside the basement, she gets to meet Kay, Tyler's sister. We learn that Tyler and Kay's dad had just passed away. Well, moving on to the mission at hand, Rain is then informed that there was an attack 200 miles above ground level. So the crew plans to break into an abandoned Weyland-Yutani ship to steal cryostasis pods, instead of waiting for the company to give them travel pods. The pods would safely take them to the planet Yuvaga, which would take at least 9 years to travel to. Rain feels the plan is insane as they would be stealing highly regulated equipment. They specifically need Andy because he is a Weyland-Yutani space model and can access the ship's terminal. Rain is afraid that they will get caught and lose their chances of ever getting a travel pod, and besides, she can't risk sending Andy on a dangerous mission. Bjorn pisses her off by telling her that Andy isn't even her real brother, but just a dumb android that was found in the trash by her dad. This statement really upset Rain, and immediately she left with her brother. Tyler approached her and manages to convince her to join them. He also assured her that it would be an easy in-and-out mission and not a deadly one. They successfully launched their mining craft, the Corbelan, and fly above Jackson Star into space where they were able to see the sun as close as possible. Also, they were able to feel planet Yuvaga. However, when they got closer to the station, they find out that the station will crash in 36 hours. But Tyler assures them that it will be an easy grab and they will be out within a matter of 30 minutes. Rain asks Andy if he actually wants to do this, but he replies saying he has been programmed to help her by her father, so he is always happy and glad to help. The moment they all arrived at the station, Andy joins to assist Tyler and Bjorn as they went on to find the pods. In a more shocking twist, they discover that the gravity generator automatically turns on after a certain period of time. Anyways, Tyler was able to find the pods, but then they are affected by gravity, so he goes on to power up the station and then turns on the gravity switch which will keep them stable for some time. When Tyler checks out the pod, he discovers that only 5 exist because Andy was never meant to travel to Yuvaga due to rules prohibiting synthetics, and there is only enough fuel to last 3 years in cryostasis. But he is determined to go further and look for enough fuel. When Bjorn and Andy continue their journey, Bjorn acts like a jerk towards Andy. Rain becomes infuriated by his attitude, but Navarro explains to her that this is because Bjorn's mother died inside a collapsing mine when a synthetic decided to sacrifice her and 2 other miners to save over a dozen other miners. Meanwhile, Kay rushes out to vomit. During this moment, Rain figures out she is pregnant by some loser, but Kay asks Rain to promise her on not saying anything to her brother Tyler because they have so much on his plate to be worried about. She is just happy that her baby will get to see the sun in Yuvaga. The crew finds out that the station is divided into sections, Romulus and Remus. When Andy senses that Bjorn is nervous, he tries to make a joke, but then Bjorn isn't having it. He reveals the truth to Andy about synthetics not been allowed to travel, and he will get decommissioned because he is prohibited. Even after finding out the truth, Andy still vows to do what's best for Rain. Afterwards, the guys discover a lab where Andy saves Bjorn from falling into a massive hole which lead to the unknown. There they also find the upper body of another synthetic, which Tyler presumes must have been spilt by chemicals. The guys continue walking until they reach the Zero chamber thinking the fuel might be in there, which could last them. With all joy to the face, Tyler tells Bjorn to help him bring out the fuel, but then the room is put on an emergency lockdown, locking them in. Even Andy has no clearance to unlock the door. Rain and Navarro then proceed to help out the crew. Rain finds the synthetic and then plans on taking out the module to replace the chip Andy has. Maybe it will have the required clearance to unlock the doors. So Rain and Navarro go to help the guys while Kay rests. She gives it to Tyler, so he would replace it with Andy's. Tyler does so, and Andy begins to reboot. Meanwhile, we discovered that the room is filled with walls of frozen baby facehuggers. Due to the heated temperature, they begin to thaw out. The facehuggers then start jumping into the water, with one of them eventually attacking Bjorn's face. Rain, now terrified, decided to try break the door open, while Andy is still in the process of rebooting. The facehuggers try to attack Tyler, but fortunately for him, Andy wakes just in time to save him. The guys flee the room, with Andy unlocking the door, but unluckily for them, the facehuggers break through the door as they started rapidly chasing after them. But unfortunately, Navarro gets a facehugger latched onto her face. Just as they struggle to remove the facehugger from her, Rain realizes that the more they struggle, the facehugger chokes Navarro. Andy reboots as he is now programmed to be more focused and loyal to Wei-Yu. He stops the crew from trying to take out the facehugger, saying it could break her neck. He is of the opinion that they reboot the already dead synthetic, because he might have an answer to their problem. To figure out how to help Navarro, the crew plugs in the dead synthetic, Rook, and gets him to come back to life. He tells them that there is nothing they can do, but instead, they should run for their lives because they are all destined for destruction. He further explains that the parasite is growing a seed in her, and after the process and its DNA formed, a xenomorph will grow out of Navarro. Rook shows them the corpse of a single xenomorph, the same one that attacked the Nostromo and was hurled out of the airlock by Ripley. He explains how the researchers on the Romulus were killed by it when it was found to be still alive, then it was shot dead, but its acid blood destroyed the remnants of the ship. With tension growing, Rain suggests that in order to remove the facehugger from Navarro, they make use of the serofuel to freeze its tail from choking her. They proceeded to doing so, and fortunately for Navarro, after they have successfully got rid of the facehugger, Navarro wakes up and it works, but Rook makes it obvious that she is still doomed because the facehugger is probably finished with the whole process, and it's just a matter of time before she transforms. He tells Andy to make sure everything is put in order because humans let their emotions override them. Andy tries to stop Navarro from getting back on the ship, but Bjorn shoots him out of the way. Bjorn and Navarro start to make a run for it back onto the Corbelan, with Andy chasing after them. They manage to undock the ship, preventing Andy from getting to them. Navarro begins to feel ill. Just as Kay is trying to figure out what is going on using an X-ray flashlight, she discovers that a chestburster is growing inside of her, which Kay can see. In front of a horrified Kay, Navarro collapses and starts foaming at the mouth. Shortly before she passes away, Navarro kicks a lever due to her convulsions, causing the Corbelan to collide at the Romulus hangar bay and launch it in the direction of the Jackson Star asteroid belt. Bjorn sees that Navarro is dead. Before he could give a reaction, the ship crashes and kicks him off balance. Meanwhile, Rain and Tyler proceeded to go meet the crew at the Romulus hangar where they crashed, but then they discover that facebuggers had blocked the only path that would lead them to the hangar. Nearby, Rook talks to Andy to inform him that his module is the backbone of their organization. He tells Andy the objective of their organization is giving him a new directive to finish the mission. So Andy rejoins the crew. In order to pass through the room filled with facehugger, they have to match the temperature with their body to make them invisible to the xenomorph. Although panic, stress, and fear could cause the facehuggers to notice their presence, they have to go in extremely quiet. Meanwhile, Kay tries to get out of the ship. She meets up with Bjorn, and unluckily came across the xenomorph that came out of Navarro. As it is still developing, Bjorn tries to fry it, but it attacks him and begins to spill its acidic blood, which was slowly burning and killing him until a large enough glob falls onto his chest to complete the job. Horrified by the event, Kay contacts Tyler as she tries to make it out of the ship safely. Tyler, who is in the midst of the facehuggers, begins to sweat as Kay panics. This compromises their plan, and then they all ran as the facehuggers chase after them. Luckily, they are able to make it, with Tyler almost being locked out. Anyways, Kay tried to hide from the xenomorph as it goes after her. She tries unlocking the door that will lead her to the other side of the hangar, but she isn't granted access. This alone made the alarm attract the xenomorph, and he sees Kay, waiting to attack her. Fortunately, Kay spots the others on the other side of the hangar. However, Andy declines to assist Kay since he knows the xenomorph wants them to open the door so it can kill them all, as it was more like a trap. Despite Rain's protests, inadvertently letting Tyler know that his sister is pregnant, Tyler begs Andy to open the door, but he stands by and watches as Kay is grabbed by the xenomorph and pulled out of sight. Andy gets slapped by Rain, but he tells her his new directive is not to compromise the company's mission. He continues by saying, if he had opened the door, they would all be dead. Andy brings Tyler and Rain into the lab, where they discover a hybrid of human and alien DNA known as the Prometheus strain by Rook. This was an experiment employing the mixture on a rat that recovered from its initial ill state is demonstrated in a video. In order to defend themselves against the Xenomorph, Andy gives Rain and Tyler M41 pulse rifles. They miss the remaining part of the rat video, which shows a terrifying thing emerging from it and ending with a dead rat Xenomorph hybrid in its cage as they head out. While walking down a hallway, they find a wall of Xenomorph cocoon. They decide to head back because going forward will be a bad idea, but then Tyler hears Kay's voice and then runs towards her. She is discovered by the three unconscious but still alive, inside a Xenomorph cocoon. However, in an attempt to save Kay, Andy gives them the DNA sample, saying it worked on the rats so it might probably work on her. With no other option, Tyler decides to inject the DNA sample into her, but Rain intervenes and then stops him. She suggests that they take Kay back to the Cyropod. It will keep her alive till they get back to their colony. They hurriedly return to the ship after they have awakened the Xenomorph. They ran for their life, trying to get to the elevator. But then the Xenomorph grabs Tyler with his tentacles and kills him by ramming its second mouth into his face. Due to the attack, Andy falls to the ground, and he begins to malfunction. Rain manages to activate the elevator. Together with Kay, while in the elevator, she sobs quietly as she sees Andy all left alone. Rain leads Kay to safety so she can get herself to the Cyropod, while she decides to go back for Andy. When Rain leaves, Kay injects herself with the DNA sample. Rain found Andy still in his state, so she took out the module from him and replacing it. This allowed him to return to his previous state. Nearby, the Xenomorph weighs on them and begins to come after them. They try to escape by going back to the station, but Rook won't let them in. Rook informs them that there is no chance of them escaping. A group of Xenomorphs approach them, and just as they appear to lose all hopes, Andy told Rain some of his jokes, and just then, Rain has the bright idea to turn off the ship's gravity. Rain shoots the aliens with her rifle as they start to float, killing them and dispersing their acid blood everywhere as they dangerously fall towards them. With the help of the rifle's recoil, she manages to pull herself away and eventually reaches safety. So they decide to float to the top, but the Xenomorph gets hold of Rain's leg. Rain manages to get rid of it with her rifle, but now she has just created an opening for other Xenomorphs to have their way due to the blast. Meanwhile, as they both head at top, Rain loses her gun in the process. With little time left before the gravity purge begins, Andy tries to save her, but just then gravity pulls back and Rain begins to descend rapidly. Rain got trapped by the main Xenomorph's tail, while the elevator came crashing down, eliminating other Xenomorphs. We get to find out that the main Xenomorph is still alive and waiting for his perfect meal, but Andy rescues her by shooting the beast with Tyler's rifle and yelling, "Get away from her, you monster." Moments before the Romulus begins to descend into the asteroid belt, Rain, Andy, and Kay board the Corbelan once again. Meanwhile, Rook, who still does not want to give up, tried one last time to persuade Andy to follow Wei Yu's goal of bringing the sample back to the company, but he ignores him, and the entire station is destroyed along with him. As they make their way to Ivaga, Rain places Kay in a cryopod. However, Kay's health begins to deteriorate because the DNA mixture is interfering with her pregnancy. She is about to have an excruciatingly painful delivery. Kay gives birth to an egg-like pod that contains a human Xenomorph hybrid. Although the egg is removed by Rain, its acid makes it slide easily through the grates. Rain went to look for it, and other to kill it before it matures, but on getting there, she found nothing. Meanwhile, Andy was the first to find the newly born monster as the hybrid alien approached him and, unfortunately for him, attacked him. All of a sudden, Rain heard a loud scream coming from where Kay was, so she ran immediately toward the direction, where she found out that the child has grown and is now feeding on her chest, killing her. She also found Andy, who is now seriously harmed by this monster. Rain tried using her nitrogen gun to freeze the alien to death, but it wasn't working, so she ran out while also trying to help Andy. Anyways, when the ship's temperature begins to plummet, Rain wore a spacesuit to shield her from freezing to death. She then, realizing that the damage from the birth of the offspring is causing the cargo pod to fall toward the asteroid belt, she attempts to free it from the ship. So as Rain begins to pull the levers to release the pod, the offspring attacks and attempts to kill her. After the two fall outside, they cling on to something to save themselves, just as the hybrid tries to attack her again. Rain uses her last strength to pull the final lever, sending the cargo pod and the monstrosity hurtling into space dust. She escapes the damage as she yells out a loud crying voice. Back to Andy, he is then placed inside one of the cryopods by Rain. She makes a Zero voice log while traveling to Ivaga. She is unsure of what they will discover, but confident that she can handle whatever challenges they may face. The movie Alien Romulus 2024 then came to an end. Kindly subscribe for more if you enjoy movie recap like this. Thanks for watching and goodbye.